Hello there. Welcome. And as you're watching the replay, as you come in, I'm hoping that you have, whether or not you are heading home or you already made it there and you're here to listen to the live, that you are relaxing or you're doing something that brings your energy to a place where you're feeling comfortable, that you're not thinking about work, you're not thinking about what's next on your plate. And so today what we're going to be doing is continuing and talking about, what is life coaching, what do we do, and whether or not you may want to consider finding a coach. And so we were going yesterday. We went over. Hi, welcome. Yesterday we were going over the first four reasons why people hire a coach, and today we're going to go over the last four because there are eight of them. And I just want to remind us that when we're talking about coaches, that we're looking at the fact that coaches do things like they encourage us, they inspire us, and they guide us into different ventures that hopefully takes us on that journey toward the goal that we're looking to reach. Because oftentimes that's why we're working with a coach, is that we're trying to achieve something, whether it's to achieve, something at work or just something in our own lives when we're not at work. But the idea is that there's someone else there. And so I'm going to give these four, and I'm glad I split them up in the way that I did, because these four are really looking at, you know, a different viewpoint of moving, how a coach could move you to reaching that goal, because the goal is still there and we want to reach it, and how a coach could do that. How can they encourage you, inspire you, and guide you on that venture that you're looking to do? So let's start with the reason number five. And remember, if you didn't get the first four, you actually can go and view the first four reasons, and I'll highlight those before I go into that again. But reason number one was to achieve a goal that you've been unable to achieve on your own. To help, reason number two, to help people overcome obstacles and roadblocks that are holding them back from achieving their goals. Number three is when an individual is at a crossroad and don't know what decisions to make. And then number four is to help an individual to figure out what it is that they actually want. And so those are some reasons that someone would hire a coach. Reason number five is realizing your full potential, realizing what your full potential is. And, I think back to an educator who had been an educator for about 12 years, and she was very respected at her job, and so people saw her as someone to go to, but she was being underutilized. It's like sometimes when you're in certain positions, you get caught in like a ruck, and a lot of times it's not you doing it, it's maybe individuals who are saying, "Oh, well, their gift is in doing this," when actually there's a chance that you want to do something else, but the opportunities aren't open because they're seeing that you're so good at doing this one thing. And I'll give you an example of my own life. So I started off as a professor teaching child development. Even though all my degrees are in psychology, I wanted to work with children and families. And so I just remember, being at the college, and people not seeing that when you start talking about brain development, man, Cheryl is the person to go to because she's like a geek around that stuff. I love it. I loved, and I think right here is my book, The Owner's Guide of the Brain, because I love talking about the brain so much. I have a neuron that's sitting up there, but I love it. But they were trying to keep me in that one area because that's all they could see that I was doing. Excuse me. They can see that I was doing. So I had to, and excuse me for just a second here. And so I had to pretty much. decide to teach that I would no longer teach child development, that I would move over and teach human services. And human services is individuals who are looking to go into either being case managers or social workers, or decide to go, become a clinical psychologist or a therapist. And it's the starting point for them. So once I started teaching classes over there, the college began to see, and the individuals and my supervisors, my dean began to see that, oh, she has knowledge in this area also. So then I was asked to teach in psychology. But what I'm telling you this story to say that sometimes individuals do not see your potential, and which means you have to see your potential. And if no one else is the cheerleader that says to you, oh, go for it, you can do it, a coach can be there to say, tell me what it is that you want to do. How can I support you in there, and check on you to see, do you believe in yourself that you can do it, and help you to support you in saying you can reach a higher level of success and achievement. Just tell me what you would like, and let's work on that. Let's make that your goal. So, so reason number 5 is to realize that a coach would help them to realize their full potential. Reason number 6 is having an accountability partner. Um, I know someone, let me see, I'll use this example. Um, she decided that she wanted to work on going back to school, but when she was in high school, she said, homework was the thing that, as smart as I was, I just did not like doing homework. And so I would not, pass a class, or I would get lower grades, all because of me not doing my homework and turning it in. And so we talked about, that when you're in school, one of the things that the professors have to do is, in order for them to see that you are gaining the new knowledge and learning how to use that knowledge, the way that they do that is they give you homework, or they give you, exams, and that's the only way that they can see it. And so one of the best ways for you to get through your program is you have to turn in your homework. So what we did was we were able to find her a couple of accountability partners, and that was how and where I would check on her also as a outside part of her accountability partner, but to find her a peer coach. And we call them actually peer mentors. And so finding her a peer mentor who was able to be her accountability partner. But she came to a coach to find that, to be able to know that's something that you can do. And then I just worked with the peer mentor to help her learn some coaching skills so that they can coach each other. And sometimes that's what a coach will do, is to help you to gain even that new skill. And so she was able to get through through working on her AA. She was able to do that by just having an accountability partner there, someone who can help coach her, but she was able to coach them also so that they can get these things done. Um, so that was reason number 6, is to act as an accountability partner. Let's move into reason number 7, creating lasting change in our mindset and the habits that we have. So as you know, I work with I know I've been talking about education, and I've been talking about, like case managers and clinical folks, but nurses are also um, part of the helping professional. And so I remember, because sometimes I meet, well, every year I meet with twice a year with a group of nurses, and also new students who are becoming nurses, and I will talk with them about the ideas around setting boundaries, because the nurses are, I'm seeing how they are stressing out. And I remember one of them saying that, um, whenever I get to like the last hour of work, I always get asked, and it happens at least once a week, she said, I will get asked if I can just stay over. And every time I say yes. So I like as a coach, what I would say to her, and I did say to her is, you're actually they keep coming back and asking you to work over because you've taught them that you will say yes. And so if they already know you're gonna say yes, why go to others, because they know that they've said no and they're kinda iffy sometimes, but I know if I go to her, she'll say yes and she'll work it. And so to make their life a little bit easier, why not come to you? Because they already know you're gonna say yes. And what ends up happening is that you begin to have a lot of resentment to the fact that you're being asked, to work over, and you're noticing others are not being asked as much as I'm being asked. Well, you have to remember you taught them that. And this is the conversation that we were having. So, what we ended up working on is, do you want to always be the go to person? And her answer was no. So as her coach, one of the things we did was we determined, what does boundaries look like for you? How do you feel about saying no? What is it that stops you from saying no? And so the main question I always ask when I work with anyone around boundary setting and learning how to say no is, let's build your scripts down on how you can say no. But I also want you to think about it this way. So, having some scripts is one technique. Another one is that before you say yes, I want you to ask a question of yourself. If I say yes to them, what am I saying no to myself about? Because I know for me, if I say yes, when I know that, oh, I'm looking forward to this weekend, then that means I'm saying no to myself, and I'm saying no to spending time with my grandchildren. I'm saying no to taking that nice sunny drive up to Yosemite National Park. I'm saying no to going to San Francisco and just go, across the Golden Gate Bridge and just look at what I see. And by the way, you probably figured out I live in California by the things that I'm sharing. But that's what I would end up saying no to myself about doing. And then of course have resentment because I really wanted to take that time to do that. Because we often are, and think about this, how many of you're already thinking about the weekend a lot of times, what you want to do on the weekend, on the times that you have off, or if your weekend is during the week, though that Tuesday, Wednesday that you're off, you probably have things planned. But yet it was so uncomfortable to say no to the individual that's standing in front of you or have emailed you. It's so hard and it feels uncomfortable to say no. A coach will help you to figure out how to say no to them and yes to yourself. And I said no, but I meant yes. That when you get asked that question, how to be able to say no, and what does it feel like in your body to say no? And let's create some scripts in how you go about saying no, because you probably have heard people say, and I'm using the boundary one because I'm actually working on a workshop around this one, so it's really fresh on my mind, but how do we write scripts so that you can learn and be ready to say that no without giving long explanations on why you're saying no? But and you probably have heard people say that no is a full sentence, and I always say it is, along with that, because maybe there are sometimes you want to work, and overtime, and so we find ways to say it so that it doesn't shut the door on you being asked, but definitely that you feel comfortable enough to say no. That unfortunately, or I should say, let me say it this way. Thank you for asking, but I'm going to have to say no about working over this time. And then moving on. And of course, you may still feel something, but the idea here is that focus on that you just said yes to yourself. And what does that look like? What do you just say yes to yourself about? So that was a long explanation for number seven, which was creating lasting change in your mindset and the habits that you have, making a shift. But first, we have to work here before we're able to change the behavior. All right. And then we're already at reason number 8, which is breaking unhelpful habits and building constructive ones. All right. So let's talk about breaks with this one, breaking unhelpful habits and building constructive ones. One of the areas that I find that I work with groups on quite a bit is understanding what breaks and lunch breaks are for, because a lot of times stress and burnout comes because we work, 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 work. And I will ask a client, what do you do with your breaks? And what I typically will hear is, well, I have so much plate and there's so many things on my to-do list. So what I do is I try to catch up. And then you find out that you're trying to catch up every week. And then it becomes every month. And then it becomes every year. You're still trying to catch up. And so what you end up doing is saying, what break? A breaks. We're supposed to have break. What break? And the idea of breaks is that your brain actually needs that break. But because we are doers, so we're behavior wise, we're moving those hands and we're doing things, and we're seeing things that we are doing, the movement of the list where you're checking off the things that you have had to do off that checkout, that to-do list, that because in your head taking a mental break, that's not something that you really could see. So taking a mental break isn't something that sits right in front of you. So a lot of times what people will do is they bypass the break for something that they can see taking place, and you're not seeing that actually internally, emotional wise and mentally wise, your body needs that. And it's not until stress builds that we begin to see that, oh, there it is. It just showed up. The fact that I needed that break. It just that I am stressed, and not realizing by not taking those breaks could have been a part of the reason why you're stressed or burnt out, where you're burning out. So the idea here is that we begin to create plans for our break. So as a coach who was in the classroom, when I knew the teachers were taking their break and they would come in, and typically if you work in an office, that a lot of times, taking your break, and whether you're a teacher, taking a break in the break room is not a break. Or if you work somewhere else and there's a kitchen, or, that's not a place to break. Or I've seen nurses where they go and they take their break at the counter that is there waiting for them. Yes, I agree with you. Breaks are very important for our mental health. Exactly, exactly. And so they may go sit behind the counter where they check people in and where the computers are, and that's what they're calling a break. But one of the habits that I try to get them to do is to change that, whether that means going for a walk, going to sit in an area where that people, may not bother you, or going to sit in your car, wherever it is. But the idea is also to break away from that environment that you're in that moment, so that your brain can have a stopping point and then start up again. And I have one of those resets that I do. And in that reset, I have where they write down where they left off, because the brain during a break will still try to think of, oh, when I get back from this break, I got to remember, I got to pick up here. What I do is I have them to write it down. So I stopped here, and when I return from my break, and it's just one or two sentences that they write down. I stopped here, and with charting, Mr. Hernandez's chart. I stopped here. I'm going to pick up his chart when I come back, and pick up from there. That way, you're not thinking about, oh, when I get back, where did I leave off? Where do I have to start again? But instead, what's happening is that's off your mind, so you can go and take that break and relax, and allow your body to recharge itself. All right. And I used to love going for like lunch breaks. I can't believe back then, and many of you probably still have the 30-minute break. And we used to get so much done, my colleagues, in 30 minutes. And then now my breaks are, like an hour. And it's like, man, wow, we get so much done in an hour. So how did I do that with 30 minutes? But we cherished our breaks and we knew what to do with those lunch breaks. So that one was reason number 8, breaking unhelpful habits and building constructive ones. Because people, they hire coaches to help them overcome those bad habits that they have put in place. Whether it can also be overeating or being addicted to your phones. A lot of those things, the habits can be broken, but sometimes there you need additional help and support in doing them. So that is the end of the last 4 of our 8. And so I'll just go back over the last 4, which was reason number 5 was to realize your full potential is what a coach can help with. And reason number 6 that you may want to hire a coach is having an accountability partner. Reason number 7 is creating lasting change in mindset and in habits that you have put in place. And then reason number 8 is breaking those unhelpful habits and building constructive ones. And so these are reasons that you would want um, to meet with a coach and have a coach. All right. So I'm going to stop there. And I hope you had a productive day today. And I hope you have a really productive evening. And that evening includes you taking care of yourself because chances are you spent the day taking care of everyone else. And, and if, I really want to see you, um, to rest and call it a real rest and look to see what you're doing. Um, get some sleep, eat something really healthy for you and something that, again, that allows those toes to wiggle and the smile come on your face, and pamper yourself in a way that you feel comfortable doing that. So with that, I'm going to say I will see you in our next live. Take care. Bye.